Linda went out with Lou, and Miguel, that then upstairs, was kind enough to bring me down and to look at the artwork of my grandfather. And there's this thing that says, I thought it said notary, but he says it's more than that. It's more like the news, like the official news, because again, he was a uniformed. And then he also translated for me, which was really nice. There was some war between Albania and Greece, but Greece is spelled differently, which I did not know. And then he gave me his family history. And he told me French wasn't part of the Romance languages. But then I said, well, I learned here in New York that the three Romance languages were French, Italian, and Spanish. I don't know, that's what the New Yorkers said that came here. And I think that it was the Providential French that was kind enough, but always so sleepy because he worked at Macy's overnight, which I assumed was retail, at the front desk. And then there was, so he said, Miguel said he worked at, see, he told Louis in the Navy. Then he said he worked at the Metropolitan Museum, the Met. And I said, the one in Manhattan? And he said, yeah. I said, I don't think I've really been there. I was like, again, I might have, but it's so expensive. I was like, and then he told me another thing, and I'm like, really? I didn't, you give. So, I mean, again, I have no money coming in, and I didn't know you can just go, and there's some other ways working things. Then he was telling me, I thought he had said that he was Dominican, and that his girlfriend or wife, whoever else is living upstairs, is Colombian, but that gets confusing. And then he was saying something about Morocco, which I was like, wait, that's in North Africa, right? He said, yes. And then he said Spain. And he said, my other two relatives are Spain. I'm like, all right. And then he was saying something about the Romance language is this way: Portugal, Italian, and Spanish. And I was like, no, that's it, Portugal, right? Yeah, well, that actually made sense in one aspect, but I don't know, does that then get me in trouble elsewhere with I'm so lost in behind the times? And then he said that, like, curator-wise, that he knows people that, the paintings, he did like a quick evaluation. I was shocked. I was like, really? But then again, that means that I would have to part with my only hard evidence locker that my grandfather left me, which is confusing. I don't know how I feel about that. And then there's Louis. And then he also mentioned something about a word, Kike, which I thought was interesting because Louis always says, oh, that's Hitler and that's bad. And I'm like, I get nothing out of Louis and Linda other than more confusion. I'm like, what makes a word bad? It's a label for something that you clearly are not qualified to teach me. I mean, it's four letters. Four letters means it's a key operative word. It's super important for my history. It's not if somebody made an argument over it, all it does is just help me somewhere to say, like, who was having the argument and where do I need to be careful to educate myself how to not get in trouble and know who may have fought so hard for something that they might actually be out to hurt me. But I find that this America and this New York, state of New York, is very confusing. I do thank him, though, because I didn't know. They say World War I and World War II. And World War II is what I thought my grandfather was in, Antonin anyway, because it has on his pictory 1941, but the gentleman, Miguel, was saying, and he had more names, but I do not remember them in working memory. That doesn't work so well. He said that he thought it was more like World War One is what, and I'm like, right. That would be interesting if he got caught somewhere between a sequencing gap and he was working the journalist desk at both. That would make sense because he's got some that are dated and some that are not dated on his hand-drawn. My grandfather was an amazing, he had dexterity in his, for me, I'm not as, I have the picture, I'm more words. I'm able to explain things in words. And then if I have a CGI artist who has access to a database of, I don't know, kettle art or whatever, then it's a catalog art, then it's easier to put together what the computers picked up at forensics with words to complete that file, that X file, and put that to bed. But to sit there with my own hand, I'm not a professional artist, like a sketch artist or anything. I never claimed to be. My grandfather, though, was incredibly talented. Today's September 14th, 2021. Nicole CATTARUZZA, star 1978, star 8378. I do appreciate, and I will thank him again for spending time and speaking with me about the art collection downstairs on the that my grandfather did. That was really nice of him to take the time to look over it with me and help me translate because, I mean, I could say what it means to me, but in etymology and entomology, like there's the professional way to speak and say things, and then there's cryptography, which has an articulated joint meaning sometimes, which is where my specialty and forte is, because I don't speak the professional, fluid, people version. I speak more bourgeoisie, like the articulate. I take pieces like a puzzle and I formulate it back together if I get myself into whatever and whatever. Last time Planetary arrested, they were working on something, I don't know what, but this doesn't feel like this is a very painful endeavor for why couldn't you just left me out at Planetary arrested? I didn't need to go to mental hospitals. I didn't need to see what the inside of New York prison looked like. I did not need to see what any of the, like, none of these humans matter at all. On my side of the equation, never existed. We'd be all right. Story would be over, we move on. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11360. And the Colombian lady upstairs, she didn't have COVID, she had salmonella poisoning. They brought back from Punta Cana, I don't know where that is offhand, a bag for Lynn and coffee. Now, I don't know if these gifts to the parents, I don't know what the alternate meaning is or if it's truly altruistic. I am not sure because I'm not customs, international, whatever. I've just been in isolation and alienation and condemnation. It feels like condom nation. Like a big condom over your body and like you can't see out and like you can only see whatever's in your area. And it makes no sense depending on if they're really going to be honest about it or not. And so let's think about this. Oh, and then it reminded me of Jason. When we were first married, I was pregnant with Ben, and I bought a tuna steak and salmon from the local supermarket, And then I went home and I cooked it. He ate it. And then all of a sudden, I'm the one who broke out in hives. And it was all over my stomach like a rash. And I was pregnant with Ben at the time. And so I didn't know what to do about it. And Linda said, you know what, just be safe with the baby. I want you to go to the first med, which I did, make sure I was okay. And then while I was there, all of a sudden, Jason, like, keels over and his blood pressure starts. So they go from trying to help me to, like, he almost dies in the first med place. It turned out they said that he ate the tuna, but the tuna had eaten something that gave the tuna an allergic reaction. And when Jason ate the tuna's allergic reaction of whatever that histamine or whatever is, the chemical that the fish produced, it lowered Jason's blood pressure to almost where his heart stopped. So we actually had to be transferred from First Med to, like, the real hospital, which I can't remember what hospital it was, but I was pregnant and I had to go with him, and just sit there while he recovered. But that did happen. That was pretty scary. So I don't know how that works, because that was just the local food store. But again, I've been poisoned so many times here. It seems so nominal, but I know it's serious. Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Nicole CATTARUZZA.